The live session only runs Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So that means that we will not have a live session tomorrow. I know you're really bummed out about that. Um, and the week ends on this Sunday. So please try and get all of your homework assignments done by this Sunday. All right. Um, Tonight we are in chapter 7. Chapters 1, 2, and 7 are the chapters assigned for the week. We want to talk about resume writing. By now, you should have met with Career Services. They should have told you, I think, via a flyer for your campus, when your resume writing dates are and when your mock interviews. Make sure you put those in the assignment from yesterday. So even though Career Services will work with you directly to help you write your resume, I want to talk to you about how the mechanics of the resume sections. You will be editing your resume for every job that you apply for. So I almost want you to look at the current resume that you're working with Career Services as a template. And that will make sense once we get into tonight. What is a resume? Well, like many of us know, it's basically a written document, right? And the goal is to identify what qualifications that you may have that includes a combination of both your experience and or your education. You're trying to let employers know that your skills match the skills that they are seeking. So that basically means that if you are applying for jobs, you're applying for an electrical technician job. But let's say you're applying for an electrical technician job at a utilities company. You may be applying for an electrician's job at a construction company. You may be applying for it working at the airport. All of those are very different types of jobs. So you don't want to send each of them just your resume template that you're doing now with Career Services. Career Services is going to help you skew your resume to get that very first job, quite possibly a job that they're going to support you in getting. So they're going to say, based on the job description of this particular job, here's how we're going to write up this resume. When you go to, if you don't secure that job, or even while you're waiting to hear back, you're going to continue to look for jobs. If you find a different job and you see that this job wants a different set of skills, you may have those skills, but if you don't see it on your resume, it's going to be very, very important that you realign that resume with the skills that that particular job is asking for. How do you do that? When you read a job advertisement, they will have keywords in that job advertisement that relates to the position that is open. Oftentimes, it will be certain tasks or, phrases that you should be familiar with, especially if you're an electrical technician. You should know, some of the things that they'll want you to do, such that you can identify the things that they want you to do that are really, really important. You might say, well, all of it's important, but maybe you don't have all of that experience, or you can't fit everything that they've said on their advertisement onto your resume. So it's important that you can identify, what is important in that type of role, because you're the subject matter expert, number one. And number two, you're the one that has to determine whether you feel you have the skills that they're looking for. So the very first thing that you're going to do when you see a job advertisement, and I've put one up here, this is a welding example. You're going to take your highlighter and you're going to go through that job description and you are going to highlight all the important parts of that position that you know to be important. And I want you to pay attention to both the hard skills and the soft skills. If we remember, the hard skills are those technical skills, but there also are some soft skills. Like if you look at that last bullet point where they talk about being a team player, right? And working on projects, that's an important skill, especially for someone that is starting out a new position. You really need to play up the soft skills because in your experience section, you're going to have things, jobs that may not be applicable. But what you can do is play up any soft skill that they're looking for. And I'll show you how to do that shortly. So the very first thing that you're going to do when you're looking for a job, you're going to find that job description, that job board, wherever you find the job, highlight the keywords. Why is that important? Most companies use a software called an automatic tracking system, and they use it to compare your resume with their job posting. And that tracking system is designed to search for the keywords that they've programmed it to search for on your resume. So what do you think is going to happen if the computer searches your resume and they don't see any keywords, or it's going to come back and say only 20% keywords, 30% keywords, and then some other person that probably don't even have as much experience as you or the same amount, but they just aligned their resume to the job board and they have 60%. Most HR companies, departments won't even look at your resume. They'll just have that tracking system send you an automatic, "We're so sorry your qualifications didn't meet." You're like, "What? Well, how did this guy get it?" Right? It could be the guy next to you because he aligned his resume to meet the job description. There has been some pushback on this because some companies have said that they've actually lost some really good opportunities with employees because of this software knocking people out. You may be a great doctor, but you may not know how to write your resume, right? Just because you're a great doctor doesn't mean that you know how to effectively write your resume. And if the automatic tracking system, especially if it's just programmed to give you a no-go, anything below 50, give a no-go, then they may miss out on some real opportunities. And that has been in the news lately. So I'm sure maybe they'll try to do something better, but right now that's what they're using. Your resume is going to have different sections, right? So if you have your resume, you already know it's going to have these different sections, right? The top 5 sections are really critical. Obviously, your heading, your summary, um, you know, key skills, experience, and education. For those of us that are going to be starting this career with no previous experience, I'm going to show you how to play up your skills, where to play them up, the skills that you've acquired from school, and where to play up your soft skills. In your heading, obviously they need to know where to contact you. So you're going to, put the standard information with the exception of your home address. Don't put your home address. Just put your city and state. Unfortunately, and we'll talk about fraud in this class, there is employment fraud. There are fake companies that post their jobs on Indeed, on LinkedIn, and some of them do it to steal your private information in the hopes that obviously they can steal your identity. So they may, if you have your address, that's just one extra piece of identifying information that they can use to make a fake account. So, and then for privacy purposes as well, you may not want your address on your resume. The protocol is, unless you are applying for that job directly on the company's site, don't ever put your full address. Just put Tampa, Florida, Fort Myers, Florida. You don't have to put, anything other than that. Obviously, you want to put your phone number, email address, and then any type of social media account. I know a lot of us may feel like we're going into trades, so they're not going to care so much about social platform. Like, don't make those assumptions. You don't know these people. You don't know how sophisticated they are. People are so persnickety nowadays. A lot of times people want to see who they're dealing with. They want you to have some type of social media platform so they can look at you and compare you to the other guy, right? So, I say if you can have it, have it. It's not going to hurt you. It's just going to give you an extra gold star, and we need all the stars we can get when we're competing against the next guy to secure a position, right? So when it comes to the summary section, which typically comes after your heading, this section here goes by a few names. Some people call it a summary section. Some people call it a profile section. Some people call it a qualifications, right? It doesn't really matter what you want to call it. When you're starting out in a new career, this section is very important because this is the overview of what is in the resume. And you want to set the tone right away for the reader of your resume. And you can even set the tone on your cover letter if you do one or if they ask for one. But this section here is where you are going to tell them what's what. And this is a section where you're going to try to include some keywords as well. So your summary section is always going to start out with some type of summary sentence. For example, if I were writing my resume as an educator, been teaching for almost 20 years, maybe 20 years, I don't know, 2007, right? 18 years, 19 years, whatever it is. Mine would say a seasoned collegiate faculty member teaching in the School of Business and Finance. Maybe that may be my first sentence. Yours may say something to the effect of, okay, and I'm going to use the welding example. Now, you're not a welder, you're a new welder. So you could say and I'm just using the word seasoned, you can use something else, a seasoned project team member transitioning into the electrical industry. That first sentence sets the tone for the entire resume because it lets the reader know what they're about to see. So if I were the reader, I would say, okay, this person has experience in something and they're new in electrical technician field. Now that manages my expectations. The summary typically is like 3 sentences, and then from there you just elaborate on the skills that you want to highlight. Well, what skills are you going to highlight? Of course, you're going to highlight the ones that they have in their keywords so that computer can pick it up. So you can say, a seasoned project member transitioning into electrical industry. My skills include blah, 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 proficient in blah, 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 right? Whatever those keywords are. I am going to highly, highly encourage you to use AI when it comes to building your resume beyond what career services is going to support you on. Because you may have to tweak your resume for each job description. Remember the example I gave. You applying to work in an airport versus applying to work at a construction company versus applying to work at a utilities company. Those are three very different jobs. You can go to AI like a chat GPT and you can you can attach your resume and you can attach a job description and you can prompt, that's what it's called when you deal with chat boxes, you can prompt the chat box and you can say, revise my attached resume to include keywords from this job description. Ensure that you reference that these skills are from my education, not from any experience I have. I mean, you literally tell the computer what to do. Focus the keywords in my summary section, and then the section I'm going to tell you in my skills section. Any soft skills, put in my experience section. And the computer will do this for you in under a minute. Why is it important that I'm suggesting that you use AI? Because you're going to have to then take that original template resume, not the one that they just made you. Let's say they made you one for the job in the airport. You're going to have to take that same resume and for the job with a construction company, tell it to do it again. For the job where you may be working, at the airport, do it again. You see? So you always want to have that base template resume. So now you have 3 different resumes for 3 different jobs. I like it because, trying to, we're all are not writers and maybe you don't know how to frame the summary. Let it do it for you. And then you can always tweak it or adjust it. If you don't like it, delete, however you want to do that. Another reason why you want to have a summary section already kind of written for you. On Monday, we'll talk about personal branding. You have to market yourself. Having a LinkedIn account, and I'm just going to use LinkedIn because you can use Instagram, you can use Facebook, but LinkedIn right now is the premier professional site for business. When you do your LinkedIn account, most LinkedIn accounts have some type of tagline. The tagline tells people, obviously, the type of work that you're in. It's so easy to just take that first sentence from your summary and let that be your tagline. For me, a seasoned collegiate professor in the School of Business and Finance, right? That's my tagline, right? So it's easy. So now your resume is serving a dual purpose, right? It obviously helps you for apply for jobs, but it also allows you to take pieces of it and put it onto job board or social media sites like a LinkedIn. So now you're like killing 2 birds with 1 stone. And when we get into setting up LinkedIn accounts, you'll use more parts of your resume to get that done. So now we've talked about the heading, we've talked about the summary section. Now let's talk about the skills section. Again, this is one of the best places to identify the skills that you've acquired from school, because when we get down to the experience section, obviously you're not going to have those technical skills. So here's the other place that you put it. So now you have it in your summary, you have it in the skills, and here you can, jot down a couple of bullets of the skills that you have from your education. Most times people have 3 bullets on the left, 3 bullets on the right. You don't want this section to be too long, right? Because then it starts to distort your resume. Right after that, the standard is to put your education, especially if you are new or you don't have tons of experience. Anytime you have tons of experience, say if you've been in the industry for 10 years or more, you can put your education after your experience. Everybody knows you probably have education. But if you're new, the goal is to put it up top. I actually put mine up top, if I'm applying for teaching, because obviously with teaching, your credentials are critical. So they want to know, do you have a degree? You cannot teach if you don't have a degree. So for me, for teaching, it would be important. But for me, doing finance or technology or compliance, I could put it at the bottom. Yeah, they want me to be educated, but that's not the key point. For you, you want your education right at the top. Couple of things you want to make sure that you have in your education section. You want to have the school and the city and state that the school resides or main headquartered, because people put fake schools, and so this is why it's turned into a necessity to have the city and state. Some companies want to make sure that they have heard of Southern Tech, for example. Some people may not have heard of Southern Tech, so they want to make sure it's a real school. You want to put the dates that you attended, so when you started, month and year, when you graduated. Those are the key things, and obviously what you earned, right? The type of degree that you earned. That will help you, because now, especially for us newer technicians, I have something in my summary, I have something in my skills, and I'm showing you that I actually have a diploma. You're earning points, right? You're earning points. And it could be a keyword, that they have in their ATS tracking system, like diploma. Like, you never know, right? So the more you have, the better. The experience section, yes, you have experience. I don't, whether you've worked at, maybe you worked in accounting, maybe you were in the military, maybe you worked at Target, maybe you worked, somewhere else. You want to list those things, but you want to also, this is where you are going to play up any soft skill. So if we go back to our example, they were talking about a project team being effective and efficient, right? What else did they say? Let's see here. It said, let me just go back to jog my memory, because there's like maybe one or two soft skills on here that we could, try to pull out. We definitely know at that bottom one, working with other team members to complete projects. So if you worked at Target, did you work with other team members? If you worked in accounting, if you worked in the military, did you do any projects? So here's an opportunity to talk about working with your team and completing projects. So I'm going to say, okay, can I identify any time I've worked on projects with the team in any of those roles? If you've ever had to maintain a, a a safety space, right? Maybe it wasn't for welding, but maybe it was for a different type of work. You followed safety protocols, even though that may be a hard skill, it can be a soft skill too, right? Anything that you can play up that you didn't play up in the summary section, you didn't play up in the skill section, and especially if it's these types of things, maintaining clean work environments, routine maintenance, this type stuff. If you can add that to your experience section, even though you're talking about something else, the better. Remember, the goal is to make it to an interview round. Everybody's not using ATS systems, but a lot of people are. So that's the goal. We're trying to make it to the next leg. We're making it to the next leg, right? So try to include as many keywords as possible. Is that making sense, guys? Give me a thumbs up if you're tracking. All right, very good. Very good. So everybody writes their experience section a little different. I'm going to give you my 2 cents on writing summary. A lot of how of the ways that I, write my experience, I'll see other, people also say these are good ways to do it. Chapter 7 is probably going to also tell you the same thing. But I'm only saying that because if your career services person says, oh, well, we're going to write it up this way, there's no right or wrong way. Remember, they're working directly with employers. So they could be working with an employer that has said, I want to see this, this, and this, right? So if they say do it this way because they're working with this employer, like definitely do it, right? Who cares? That's just one template that we can use for that. We can rewrite our resume 1,000 times, right? We've learned that. But in the experience section, what I always do, I always write like 3 sentences giving a overview of the position. So in my experience section for Southern Tech, I'm going to give a brief blurb on the type of classes I teach at Southern Tech. And then I am going to follow up with at least 3 bullet points of how well I've done that job. We call those key accomplishment statements. Um, some people call them PAR statements, problem action results. Something that you can say, this is how well, speak towards how well you've done the job. Me just saying, hey, I work as a SL instructor at Southern Tech doesn't really say much. But it says, okay, she teaches career prep. We got it. But if I said 98% satisfaction rate from student survey, 95% retention rate year over year, 97% pass rate in the past 3 years. Now I'm saying something, right? Now I'm not just saying, oh, I'm an instructor. Now I'm saying I'm an effective educator. So those key accomplishment statements will set you apart from the next person, because some people don't do that. Some people, like I said, whether they're just learning how to write their resume, they don't know to add it, or they just decide not to do it, that can set you apart. Having those key accomplishment statements. Anything that you can put, I know I sound like a broken record, but anything that you can put from that job posting in these key accomplishments bullets, do it. They're talking about team members, they're talking about safety protocol. Maybe you've had to do a 12-point check safety protocol and some other work. That's where I'm going to mention it, because a company wants you to be the person, right? When you're interviewing, you want every person to be the one. And the more you can make them feel like, oh, okay, well, I don't have to train this person too much. They already know about safety. They know about this. They know about that. Yeah, they're new technicians, but they have a lot of other soft skills. They have a lot of other qualities that they're bringing to the table. And that is the mindset you want them to have when they're looking at your resume. Resumes come in a lot of different formats. For years, we've called them chronological resumes, but now people are calling them timeline resumes, whatever, it means the same thing. But the most popular type of resume is a timeline resume, i.e. a chronological resume, where you start with your most recent experience and then you go from there. You go back from there. The rule of thumb is go back 10 years. Sometimes that doesn't make sense. You could be at one job for 10 years, even though most people aren't anymore. So the real standard is 2 pages, right? Most people just want you to have 2 pages. They don't want a 6-page resume, even though it's difficult for some of us, like myself, to only have a 2-page resume. But, that's the standard chronological resume. Now, there are other forms of resumes, skills-based resumes, where you just focus more so on the skills and not even the people that you work for, and combination resumes, where you talk a little bit about the skills and a little bit about the company. Those are more, I would say IT related resumes. I've seen IT mostly use them, because if I am applying for a job as a web developer, they want to say, tell me that you've been a web developer. Okay, tell me everything you've done as a web developer. Now you can mention the companies that you've done web development at, because in really technical jobs, especially ones that are very, very specific, a web developer is a web developer, right? So they're focused on your ability to develop your webs, or let's say a mobile app developer. They're focused more on that skill versus who you did it for, right? But by and large, the timeline resume is going to be the most prevalent. If they tell you to put your resume in a PDF format, please guys put it in a PDF format, because a lot of these tracking systems use PDF formats, and sometimes they're little boogers because they don't want to have to save as your resume and all that. They want you to do that legwork. You don't want to give the HR person any reason to chuck your resume. So make sure you pay attention in the job posting if it says it wants it in a PDF format. We don't have a lot of non-traditional resumes anymore. Some people actually consider LinkedIn a non-traditional resume, but you can read more about those in your reading. So the last thing I'm going to say is to make sure that you proofread. Do not be like me. We've all been there before, looking for jobs, applying. And I've made the mistake of sending the wrong person the resume before. Has anyone ever done that? And you're like, why do these people not respond? Then I go back and I see I sent them the wrong resume. I'm like, okay, let me just go ahead and leave that alone. They have already judged me wrongly, right? So make sure that you're proofreading and that you're sending the right resumes to the right people. All right. And then lastly, make sure you have a professional reference sheet. It's going to be separate from your resume, and you're not going to give them your professional reference until you get to that stage, which is typically like the third step. So first step is, applying for the job. Second step is interviewing. Third step is if they like you and you've gone through however many interviews, preferably just one, then they may or may not ask for your references. You want to treat your reference sheet very similar to your resume in terms of the heading. Again, don't put your address. You can put the address of your reference if it's a business address, right? But make sure you get there okay with the phone number and the email, because everybody and their jobs could be different. They may say, hey, you can put my job, but put my personal email or put my personal phone number. So just make sure you're talking to your references. I always tell people, if you're actively looking for jobs and you have a reference sheet, especially if you get to the place where the company's asking for the reference, let the reference know that you're looking for a job and they're going to ask, and you may say, well, of course I'm going to let them know, but you need to let them know more than that. Give them the job posting, tell them what you want them to focus on. I continually do references for people that have worked with me for many, many years, and they always give me that courtesy. They'll say, hey, Taylor, everybody calls me my last name, Taylor. I need you to do this reference for me. Here's the job. Focus on the project that we did when we were up in New York. I'm like, okay, cool, got it, right? It doesn't take anything more than that. That's why it's important to have real references, guys. I'll be honest with you. I learned a couple years ago that people have fake references. I didn't know that was a thing. I was like, who does a fake reference? Well, apparently a lot of people do. But listen, if you do your job right and you have good work ethic and you have good team members, you don't ever have to do a fake reference. Just, network with people and, keep them in your circle. And with LinkedIn, it's so easy to do that. All right. So now I want to actually walk you through the assignment that you're going to do today before I tell you what your participation question is, because I want to make sure you guys get this right. I always have a few people that don't get it right, and this is one of those assignments where I said, okay, if you don't do it right, I'm going to send it back and say, hey, you didn't do it right. So I want to show you exactly what I want you to do. In this assignment, I'm asking you to practice looking for jobs. So I want you to practice looking for electrical technician jobs, and I want you to read those job descriptions, and you are going to find at least 3 job postings that are looking for similar hard and soft skills. And I want, at least, for the job, the hard skills, at least 3, and for the soft skills, at least 1. But I'm going to show you what I mean. So I'm going to upload. I think it's here. Where did I put it? Maybe here. So I am on, oh, hold on. I'm on Indeed, right? So I put it up already. And I'm going to, here we go. I put in Orlando, Florida. I know you guys are not in Orlando, so you can put wherever you put. And I put in electrical technician, right? And this is, you don't have to use Indeed. You can use whatever you want to use, ZipRecruiter, LinkedIn, whatever. And I'm going to search for electrical technician. So you're going to have to look because Ms. Taylor wants 3, right? So I'm going to, because I want you to practice, and let's say you're looking for a very specific, I mean, you can even go back and put electrical technician in construction if you want, or however you want to do that, right? But right now, I'm going to scroll down. I see one here. It says electrical technician. I'm going to click on it. And over here to the right-hand side, it tells me about that position. I want to get, you want to read it intently, but I'm just going to go to the job description section. Right here, it says, are you ready? They always talk about their company. Read that, but for the purposes of this assignment, I want you to focus on what it is they want you to do. So we want to get to that part of it right here. Electrical technician, your role. It says that as an electrical technician, you'll start your day in your take-home company vehicle. Okay. Heading to homes and businesses within 25-mile radius. So you already know this is going to be a front-facing customer service position. All right. Each job brings something new. We know that we're going to diagnose issues, perform repairs, install systems, and educate customers. Those are all technical skills so far. You guys agree? Yeah, maybe. I think it's a little bit skewed towards customer service, but that's fine. Let's see if there's anything else. What we need from you. Ask yourself, do you take pride in delivering high quality work? Do you enjoy helping customers? You already know, so that's that soft skill stuff, because it's front facing. They're going to really, play up the soft skills. Look at that. Are you dependable? Are you safety focused? Are you eager to grow? Do you thrive on team environment? Y'all see what I'm saying? This is how it's telling you the type of environment you're about to be in. This is why reading those soft skills are so important. A lot of people just stop with some people stop with the title and they don't even read the job description. But they stop with those hard skills and they don't pay attention to the soft skills. You want to pay attention to the soft skills, not just the hard skills, right? So let's say we liked this job and we want to use it for our assignment. What I want you to do is to scroll back up to the top, and I have a problem because I should have showed you guys on Google, because let me see. Let me just see. It's not giving me a copy link option. All right, so I did it on Microsoft 365, but let me see something really quick. If I pull up, let me do Indeed on Google. And I'll tell you why in a minute, because it allows you to copy the link without you having to download it. So I'm going to do, and I'll show you what I'm doing in a minute. I just want to make sure. Electrical technician. I just realized, I didn't realize that 365 doesn't. Well, what? Why is it not giving me? Let me do this one. Am I doing something wrong? Because it's not doing it over here either. That's weird. Let me see. 1 second. Maybe it's not why is it not letting me do it? Let me see if I sign in. I'll show you what I mean in a minute, guys. Normally there's a copy link, but I don't see it. I don't think you have to sign in. No, forget it. Let me see. That is so weird. Whatever. All right. Anyway, normally up here, right here where my cursor is, right to the right, there's a copy link because you're copying this particular job description. Now, if you don't see it, it's so annoying, but what you can do, let's say you're going to use this one as your first example, right? You can just go here, but it's so long up here in this box, and you can right click and hit copy. And then you can paste it into a Word document or just paste it in the text. But you don't know if you're going to keep it yet because you want to go and find another one, right? So here's, let's say I have another one. So I'm going to scroll down. I'm looking for another one. Now this one says commercial. So it may not be working with clients. Maybe you can find 3 commercial ones. But let's just see for example. Now here, commercial electrical technician. I'm going to scroll down to see what they want. I'm trying to see if it has at least 3 skills that the other one has, right? That they don't all have to be working with customers, but I want them all to have the same skill. So I'm scrolling down. Okay, key responsibilities. It wants me to install, maintain, repair electrical systems in commercial buildings, troubleshoot and diagnose. Perform maintenance. Do you guys see at least 3 skills from the other one? I think I do. Y'all see at least 3 technical? I thought I saw, or no, I don't see any thumbs, so maybe no. I see customer service, so I see one. Wasn't there safety protocols in the other one? No. All right, so let's keep going. So if you don't see similar skills, then just use a different one. Or if you want to go back and not use that first one and maybe use this one, you can, because this is a commercial. Let's see what this industrial one is. See, you guys would know which ones to pick. I'm just picking off the top of my head. Your responsibilities. There we go. This one says install, repair, and maintain power distribution, motor controls, general blah, 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 blah. I don't know if that would be the same, but here do blueprint and schematics. Perform maintenance. This is one. Thank y'all. I was waiting for those thumbs. Y'all had me nervous. I felt like the student. I was waiting for y'all to tell me good job. Okay, so this is one. Okay, thank you, Stephanie. Now, so I got another one. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to scroll up, and I don't know why that link, because normally there's a copy link right here. But, you know, this one is just letting you, if you want to share it, you know, so just go up here and grab that link, copy and paste it, and then find another one. And once you do 3, what you're going to do, once you have your 3, so do you guys understand what you're doing with that? Let me show you what it's going to look like once you get your 3. Once you get your 3, your assignment is going to look like this. It's going to show me, it's going to look like this. So you're going to have your 3 links, right? I copied and pasted. So Ms. Taylor can click right here and see the link. And then you're going to tell me, okay, Ms. Taylor, this was an example of veterinary assistant. You're going to say, I did an Indeed search electrical technician. My hard skills, I found that each of these were, you know, this one, I don't know what's up with Jimmy's thing. This one, and this one. The soft skill that they all shared was effective communication. Y'all see what I did? Does that make sense? Like, and you still can put this in a text box on your assignment. Indeed search, electrical technician, copy those 3 things. Tell me. I'm telling you right now, please, my friend, don't just say this company, that company, that company. You don't have a link. I'm going to send it back to you. Or I'm going to say, if you don't give me a link, you're only going to get 50%. So give me the links, because that tells me you did the research. And give me at least 3 hard skills that they shared and 1 soft skill. Make sense? Any questions on that? Okay. All right, guys, here is your participation question for today. I just want to know, what's 3 different things you learned about resume writing? 3 skills you learned about resume writing. If you didn't get anything from me, I apologize. You can always read chapter 7 and come up and give me 3 things from chapter 7. I won't be offended. 3 things that you learned from resume writing is your participation question for today.
All right. Thank you. My phone gonna die.
Yeah, Jim, and we know. We see you keep popping in and out, man. I'm glad you made it back to us. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for tonight. I'll talk to you on Monday. Remember, no class tomorrow.
All right. Have a good night.
Okay, bye-bye.